destruction of the first Death Star has brought a vicious response. The Empire has hunted the Rebel Alliance with merciless tenacity, and now stands to solidify its hold over the galaxy. But with the incredible success, the Rebellion feels all the more determined as well. The concept of the Force has entered the galactic consciousness once more, and for the first time in a decade, the word Jedi is being commonly heard in turn. The whereabouts of this young Luke Skywalker, the prodigal son of these guardians of old, the new hope for the Rebellion, is unknown. But he is training, somewhere, somehow. Stories circulate the galaxy of sightings and appearances. They are rarely credible, but all speak of his power growing ever stronger. His legend is following, and is spreading quickly. The fire this stokes within the hearts of the oppressed cannot be ignored. The Empire on the whole know they need to make a defining move against the Rebellion soon. Finally, they gain their chance. Princess Leia Organa has been captured by Jabba the Hutt on the planet of Tatooine. The most public figurehead of the Rebellion is right there for the taking, like the Rebellion's off switch. The task force of 30-year-old Imperial Admiral Rae Sloane is just hours from Tatooine. She was there to conduct an anti-piracy campaign by the Emperor's own recommendation. She's only ever seen the Emperor from her level of remove, so the recommendation has come at a complete shock considering her young age. Eager to justify this astounding faith, Sloane takes the initiative. She messages Jabba the Hutt, requesting a price for the captive, but Jabba refuses. The Empire's apparent obsession with Leia has only made her all the more valuable. Until now, he has kept Leia simply caged in place of Han Solo, who she had been captured attempting to set free. But he now has her beautified and installed with him upon his platform. He makes sure she is in full view of every diplomat and negotiator in every communication he conducts. He wants the galaxy seeing and wanting this prize. Not to be dismayed, the Admiral leaves her fleet and comes to Jabba's fortress personally for a lengthy negotiation. Leia is forced to sit and listen for the haggles for her life. Jabba even has her serve the Imperials drinks while they discuss. Upon return to her fleet, Admiral Sloane and her officers know they're just wasting time, and giving the Rebellion more of a chance to save Leia. They need to kill Organa now. Some suggest simply advancing the fleet straight in and laying a barrage directly upon Jabba's fortress. Yes, it would lead to a crisis with the Hutts, but it hits the Rebellion hard, removing that issue once and for all. Sloane, however, has a better idea. She orders the wiping and rebuilding of an assassin droid to masquerade as a medic. The droid will be sent to Jabba, requesting a health check of the slave before they continue negotiations. The droid will be unarmed, with no drugs nor posing any danger. The moment it closes to within reach, however, it will grab Leia and charge away from the platform at full force, her collar and chain still attached, snapping the princess's neck. They build the droid, test it, it is ready to go. But on Operation Eve, Sloane is contacted by Darth Vader himself, who tells her to stand down. He will go to Tatooine. He will speak with Jabba, and he will bargain for Leia himself. Sloane cannot understand this. Yes, there is a risk of war with the Hutts, but it's not like it's an attack upon Jabba himself. It is a slave. The news spreads throughout the Admiralty, and most are completely with Sloane on this. A fleet admiral, in a rage of frustration, even openly accuses Vader of being infatuated by the princess. How many times now has Leia been in his clutches, and Vader not killed her? That fleet admiral, however, Vader kills just fine, and the overstated response of both parties has only emphasized the division within the Empire's upper ranks. The Emperor, Darth Sidious, has meanwhile been noticeably quiet on the matter. The accusation of that fleet admiral, however, as foolish an outburst it was, might actually have some merit. Sidious himself has never paid attention to individual rebels before, but he now looks into this Princess Leia Organa. He soon cannot ignore the distinct similarities this little princess shares with a certain little former queen. Leia Organa and Padme Amidala are very alike indeed. It is one hell of a lucky coincidence, but it explains a hell of a lot. The Emperor becomes convinced that Vader has indeed avoided killing Leia, and would in fact dread nothing more. Killing his beloved Padme destroyed Anakin Skywalker. Just the threat of doing it twice, the possibility of it, can absolutely be used. Sidious has already employed Padme's image to torture Vader multiple times now to great effect. In gaining Leia, Sidious would have his very own live Padme doll. He would gain incredible power not only over his apprentice, but over another potential apprentice he wishes to acquire. To have this muse in a prolonged state of agony for both apprentices to see and hear, that is far too precious an asset to give up. The Emperor forbids any operation against Organa. He contacts Admiral Sloane personally, telling her to stand down and pull her fleet out of the system. Darth Vader will make the play. Not only that, but Sidious also considers letting Jabba keep Leia for a time. He might forbid Vader from taking unnecessary actions. He might have Vader stay for several weeks, tediously negotiating, something he knows Vader utterly detests. This delay might further inspire the rebellion as well. See, with Leia in the Empire's hands, she is essentially protected, sealed away. The rebellion has no hope of getting her back, but her icon remains safe. It is even inspiring in a way, as it makes Leia more of a martyr. In the possession of this filthy, gluttonous slug, however, there's something a lot grimier about that. It's more corrupting to her image. Even just sitting there on display, she is being defiled. That's Princess Leia Organa. That's Anakin's precious Padme. Both now a mere display piece, a means of pleasure for any two-credit vagabond and criminal to enjoy. That image, that thought, that hypothetical bouncing freely in Vader's mind might just eat at him a little bit. And it might just inspire the rebellion to make an early move, before they're ready, maybe causing them to make a mistake. For Darth Sidious, that would work very nice indeed. He tells Vader to wait. But he also sends a secret personal message to Jabba the Hutt.
It would be most appreciated, mighty Jabba. Considered a personal favor to myself if you would ensure the young princess remains unharmed. I also trust she will remain ever on display, her services ever indulged upon and enjoyed by your retainers, and I do hope the rebellion might learn the finer, salacious details.
So the weeks pass with that news, that image, that thought flooding the galactic conscience. The Empire leaks images of the greatly respected rebellion leader, now a mere toy, posting them around known pro-rebellion planets. Agents also spread all kinds of stories regarding her peril, conveniently leaving them more as hints than resolutions, allowing the public's own imagination to fill in the blanks. This sparks a major furor. Riots break out, calls are made for the rebels to stand, for attacks upon the Hutts, to kidnap Hutts and ransom them for the princess. Admiral Sloane herself comes upon a pirate flotilla trying to locate and defect the rebels. After she crushes them, she sees the immense strategic value in simply keeping Organa alive. A rebellion's greatest strength, its fervor, is also its greatest weakness. This is a lesson Sloane will not soon forget. And then arrives the best news for which the Emperor could ever ask. Luke Skywalker, himself, has been captured attempting to free Organa. He is now set to be thrown into the belly of the Sarlacc, where he will be prolonged in stasis and slowly digested over 1,000 years. Darth Sidious is beside himself. This couldn't be more perfect. Why had he never considered using a Sarlacc before? Forget 1,000 years. What kind of mental state would such an experience invoke after, say, just 5? Sidious could rescue Luke. He would be his savior. Sidious could rebuild him. He could direct Luke back upon the Hutts, encouraging his fall to the dark. Sidious could have 2 Vaders in his eternal service. 2. This is working out too perfectly for the Dark Lord, and all the hard work has already been done by that magnificent fat bastard of a slug. The Sith only has to sit and wait, and all of it shall be his. He gets excited. He gets too excited. And after a long life of endless schemes and treachery, after killing his master, after swindling the Chosen One, after locking the Republic into civil war and taking control of the Senate, after wiping out the Jedi, after building his great empire, after all the perfection of his grand schemes, the great Darth Sidious drops the ball. His removal of Admiral Sloane's fleet from Tatooine gave the rebels the window they needed. Luke Skywalker frees Leia Organa, frees Han Solo and their companions, and escapes. Sidious becomes reflective on this. That was just too simple. He had things all wrapped up and that just should not have happened. He would never admit to his own wrongdoing, however, so the young Admiral Sloane is made the scapegoat. She is ordered to Coruscant at once to answer for her brashness compromising the operation. She has already been sentenced to a day of progressive torture, publicly televised for the Empire's well-being. Sloane is stunned. Her bridge officers are stunned. They look at her, but she just stands frozen. But no one has come to arrest her. It was simply an order like all others for her to carry out. Her task force remains under her command. Uncharted wild space is right there, and many of her commanders are telling her they will stand by her if she decides to flee. The young admiral excuses herself for a time, retiring to her quarters. She has a complete panic attack, freaks out, screams her head off, and then calms. She returns to her bridge upright, fully composed, and orders her task force to Coruscant. Sloane waits several days in her naval prison cell, alone, wired, with days and nights passing by. In the morning hours of her sentence date, she has a visitor, the Emperor Palpatine himself. It is not known what transpired during this meeting, but the young admiral emerged that day calm and upright, proceeding out into the public court before thousands of curious onlookers and projected up onto the screens for billions more across the galaxy. She submits to and endures whatever is dealt upon her with the legendary refinement of a true Imperial officer. After the most enjoyable event, Darth Sidious takes a walk among his gardens. He is accompanied by his closest confidant, the only person to whom he could ever admit a level of fallibility. He is possibly his oldest friend, if Sidious ever had such a thing, and likely the most secretive individual in the Empire, the chief scholar and force advisor, the Imperial Grand Minister of Archives.
Such a simple, thoughtless mistake. A moment's lapse in leaving the door slightly ajar, and all the opportunity I held within my grasp poured freely through my fingers like sand. I fear such may be the curse of great success, my lord. No? Explain. My lord has led a long, most fruitful life. Challenged, yes, but with great success ever meeting him upon the horizon. My lord's cunning knows no equal, and for the great Sith to outclass his opponents must offer very little challenge for his capacity. I wonder if perhaps my lord is simply growing bored. Yes. I must admit, Grand Minister, that I most enjoy these conversations we share. As do I, my lord. As do I.
The Grand Minister is the Emperor's primary asset in furthering his mastery of the Force, and most of all, his bid for immortality. Due to the selfish nature of the task, Sidious compiles the research himself, never telling the Grand Minister of the primary goal. But it is too big a task to perform, along with being the Emperor at the same time. So for many years, while Palpatine works the political game, the Minister is making journeys to places like Korriban, Dathomir, Ozes, Tython, Nar Shaddaa, scouting whatever he can to bring back, process, and archive. All too often, however, he is repeatedly directed out to some backwater to find some text that does not relate to the current strand of research. It does not make sense to him, but he knows there must be a reason for it. Sidious does nothing without a plan. As he delves further, the Minister begins to see a pattern, and pursuing his own investigation, soon discovers that immortality may actually be a thing. Once he has worked that out, he sure as hell isn't going to let Sidious get there first. He begins to compile his own secret archive of everything he has found, while strategically delaying, if not sabotaging, Sidious's own efforts. What's more, is that the Grand Minister sees the recent torture of Rae Sloane has not sat well with the Admiralty. She is one of the brightest stars, and all know the rebellion's new dawn had nothing to do with her. The Minister now finds the possibility of the Emperor's demise to be very real indeed. Several of the military from across the galaxy are brought together in secret by this mysterious figure. None know the Grand Minister's name, but all have seen him at the Emperor's side. In the rear of the attendees is Admiral Rae Sloane, now on extended leave. Also attending is Fleet Admiral Brendol Hux. Though the Grand Minister is leading this meeting, the Fleet Admiral appears to be front and center. The Grand Minister addresses himself by a simple moniker, Snoke. None know of the origins of this name, but this Snoke has something serious to say. He reveals to the Admiral the Emperor's quest for immortality, but he is very clear. The Emperor cannot achieve this. It cannot be done. It is a fool's errand. He is not only squandering Imperial resources in the pursuit of this idiocy, but he is also losing his mind in doing so, placing them all at risk. Snoke refers to the youngest among them directly as an illustration of this point. He then proceeds to outline a contingency plan to hold the Empire together upon the Emperor's potential fall, placing himself as temporary overseer. Now, not all of the admirals completely buy that the Emperor is as much a liability as Snoke is making out, but the outspoken personalities among their number have been greatly reduced of late. They are at least happy, however, to listen, because none of them want Vader at the helm. He is a thug, limited strategic ability, no leadership, and they are more than happy to take him out straight away. Most also know full well that this is simply a coup in the making for Snoke's own advancement, but here at least they can be in on the inner circle from the start. Sloane remains silent through all of this. She has not worn a uniform since her fateful day, and during the meeting has kept herself at a level of remove, allowing her superiors the forefront. Right off the bat, she has picked Snoke for what he is, a second Darth Sidious. He was also notably quick to deny the possibility for immortality, and Sloane starts to wonder if the premise might actually have some merit. She wonders whether Snoke himself is going for that very thing. Sloane has been very forgiving of the matter of her punishment. She has, after all, become somewhat of a hero among her fellow officers due to the fortitude she had shown that day. She has remained fully instated in the services, maintains full control of her fleet, and upon the order of the Emperor himself, her name does not appear on any public record of the Organa affair. It was simply an Imperial officer who was punished that day. The Admiral, in fact, even privately states to her supporters that she is proud to take the blame for the incident, so that the Emperor, in turn the Empire, would remain infallible in the public's eyes. She initially goes along with Snoke's plan, though after the meeting immediately proposes a counter-conspiracy to checkmate it. She gains support of many of her superiors, including Brendol Hux. Hux, however, knows that should Sloane's plan be successful, then that would essentially just re-establish the status quo, thus allowing no advancement for him. Snoke, however, unbeknownst to them, is offering Hux a very legitimate position, General First Class of his new First Order. He goes to Snoke and warns him, but Snoke already knows. He called Sloane to that meeting because she is an old Republic dreamer. After suffering the injustice she had, Sloane would support neither him nor Sidious. Snoke wants her bitterness to accelerate her counter-coup, attracting its allies so all can be wiped out in one go. But Snoke is only partially right about Sloane, for unknown to any at that meeting, the young Admiral Rae Sloane, who sat to the rear of the conspirators that day, was in fact now Grand Admiral Rae Sloane. Her white uniform and gold bars simply awaited her at home until her leave was complete. The youngest Grand Admiral in Republic or Imperial history takes the information personally straight to the Emperor. She ensures him her fleet, and those who have agreed to support her counter-operation have remained loyal. The Emperor commends her, voicing just how right he was in her selection as his new military trustee. For after the destruction of the first Death Star, the Emperor lost the legendary Grand Moff Tarkin, cornerstone to his Empire's military integrity. Darth Sidious has since been greatly uninspired by the upper naval echelons and their squabbling and groveling, their lack of gumption. A clearing of house has been in order, and new young blood is required to take the lead. For Rae Sloane, even the illustrious rank of Grand Admiral was a temporary title. Upon the defeat of this conspiracy and final destruction of the rebellion, Grand Moff Rae Sloane was to take complete control over the Imperial military for the New Age. Her loyalty and dedication to the Empire, after all, she has proven well beyond all doubt. D-Day for Snoke's conspiracy is set as the day the second Death Star finishes construction and becomes operational, the perfect weapon to employ in the coup. In the preceding weeks of the operation, a score of conspirator ships and fleets will break from their assigned deployments under a variety of false pretense and converge within orbit over the desert planet of Jakku. On the eve of the operation, Admiral Sloane, still on leave, will join the gathering and take command of the United Strike Group via proxy for Fleet Admiral Hux. Snoke, meanwhile, will tip off Darth Vader to a suspicious maneuver by Brendol Hux's smaller strike group near the planet of Ratatak. Vader's superior fleet will converge upon him, where the Fleet Admiral will, however, be awaiting to engage. Becoming bogged down in the ambush, the nearest Loyalist fleets will respond to Vader's aid, leaving the Endor system and the Death Star open. Snoke will pass them, jumping to Endor with his task force under the guise of escaping the ambush. He will board the Death Star with his team and move to kill Darth Sidious. Sloane will then bring the Jakku strike group in to flank Vader and the Loyalist defenders, defeating them and placing the United First Order Armada under the command of General First Class Brendol Hux. They shall then regroup around the Death Star and make the galactic announcement that a new day has dawned. Snoke, however, has a secret plan. He will alert Vader instead of Admiral Sloane. He will frame her for the coup and set Vader's forces onto her, tying them down in battle over Jakku. Snoke, meanwhile, will move on the Emperor, take the Death Star to Jakku, and use the weapon to hit the planet, taking both Vader and Sloane's counter-conspirators out in the blast. The Emperor's plan is to let Hux get bogged down with Vader as the new Grand Admiral reveals her rank and takes command of her unified strike group. Upon the Loyalist fleets deploying to assist Vader, and upon Snoke's task force infiltrating the Death Star, the strike group will actually jump straight to Endor to support the Emperor instead. Once the conspiracy has been suppressed, the United Death Star battle group under Grand Admiral Rae Sloane will be set upon the rebellion and the Empire will be secured. But Sloane, too, has a plan of her own. She is done with plotters and schemers, she is done with self-serving tyrants, and she is done with anyone strong in the Force. She knows how ambitious Brendol Hux is, and that's exactly why she included him in her counter-conspiracy. She wanted him feeling the lack of advancement, and he is the perfect puppet for a non-military type like Snoke to employ, so she wanted to accelerate that. After announcing herself and claiming her fleet, and after the Loyalist fleets leave the Death Star and Snoke makes his move, the Grand Admiral has decided to simply wait. She will let the Emperor fall. She will then jump straight to Endor, storm the Death Star as the Loyalist hero, kill Snoke, and display the Emperor's last order, establishing her as Grand Moff. She will then order the reinforcing fleet to establish a secure zone at distance from Ratatak, bring in her United Death Star battle group, and take both Hux and Vader out in one go, knowing too well the Admiralty will be fine with that. Sloane will then impose martial law, lock the Empire down, and look to installing a new non-religious head of state, under her guidance of course. So the construction is proceeding well, and in fact, rumors spread that the completion of the Death Star's weapon systems has been greatly accelerated. The time is drawing near. The players are prepared, the movements all set according to plan, with their targets none the wiser. But then the United Rebel fleet jumps into direct battle with the Death Star, looking to destroy it once and for all. What's more, the Death Star is already fully operational. Darth Sidious has been laying his own trap for the Rebel Alliance all along. This brings the conspirators pause. They aren't sure what to make of this. They do not assist in the battle. The rebels are vastly outmatched and surely this trap is set. In fact, they actually rejoice. In one fell swoop, they can rid themselves of all Imperial contenders, and in a matter of mere moments, the rebellion shall be utterly destroyed. But the situation has now changed, and both Sloane's and Hux's strike groups are looking curiously exposed over Ratatak and Jakku. Sloane makes her move. She announces herself in the pure whites and gold bars of a Grand Admiral and claims full control over her fleet. Snoke and Hux are blindsided. With the arrival of the Rebel Alliance, they are unable to draw and engage Vader's fleet regardless, but with Sloane's sudden reveal and commandeering of their largest force, they realize now they might actually be in trouble. This bitch is swooping the coup out from under them. Snoke orders Hux to jump to Endor at once to loyally assist the Emperor in the destruction of the rebels. Sloane hears of this, but holds. She knows the Emperor supports her, and the conspirators are jumping to their doom. They will meet Vader's fleet and the Death Star, become bogged down, and she will jump in on their flank and destroy them. But Darth Vader is on board the Death Star. He has brought Luke Skywalker with him for the Emperor to entice to the dark. Sidious antagonizes Luke, encouraging the unleash of his anger upon Vader, thus encouraging his fall. But the Dark Lord fails. Luke instead turns Vader, Anakin Skywalker, the Chosen One, the Emperor's greatest threat to the light. Anakin Skywalker seizes the One Sith and casts him down into the Death Star's core, destroying the Dark Lord and ridding the galaxy of evil for good, as the prophecy foretold. Snoke awakes upon the floor. He had passed out, but does not know why. He finds nothing about his quarters, and the fleet is still in hyperspace. Something has occurred, though, and he has a creeping feeling. Something. Someone. He makes his way to the bridge, if only to regain the company of others. He arrives just as the fleet jump into the Endor system, where the second Death Star explodes before their very eyes. The conspirators stand and watch as the victorious rebellion turn their ships and jump away, wiping all the major hinge pieces of their plan from the table in one fell swoop. But Snoke and Hux have their strike group. Grand Admiral Sloane has her strike group. And the contest for the domination of the galaxy now enters the next stage, between the Rebel Alliance, the Empire, and the First Order.